And welcome back, everyone. Welcome back to another weekend edition here of the PondCast episode 97, your weekly dose of all things StarCraft. I'm, of course, host VIP. With me, I'm joined by Kuro, handling the production side of things, and, of course, by lovely people in the chat as well. Welcome, one and all, to the podcast again, where we do discuss all things StarCraft and all things StarCraft adjacent. A lot has been going on this week, and let's jump into our first massive piece of news. Actually, first is a Tim Morton interview held by Hearthstone. It came out of nowhere, honestly. I was very surprised to see this, but Hearthstone did manage to get Tim Morton, who of course was the game director over at Frost Giants, over at Stormgate, and of course was able to have quite a lengthy interview with Tim Morton. Of course, he does have some previous ties with Blizzard, with StarCraft, and of course leading into his tenure over at Stormgate and at Frost Giant and Stormgate. And they kind of went into quite a bit. So it was really cool. First things first, shout out to Hearthstone for acquiring this interview. It looks like they both had a bit of a rapport beforehand. It looks like they had maybe been in touch previously, or at least Hearthstone was a part of some of the earlier testing as well. And maybe they even had some correspondence because of that. So there was a bit of a close connection there, and as a result was able to bring him on and have this interview. Again, a very... I almost said like Lex Friedman-esque, but we recently had another interview with another ex-Blizzard employee, of course, getting into Overwatch. And here we have one now, which was able to discuss a little bit about StarCraft before going into Stormgate, of course. What I will say here is that when it comes to the discussion about StarCraft, I don't know if there was too much really gained. When it comes to the discussion, just because it feels like it was everything that we had already known coming into it in regards to some of the work behind the scenes, in regards to what was working, what wasn't working, and kind of what was popular and how things popped off regarding like co-op, for example. Like it's been known for many years, since like 2017-ish, when Total Biscuits did actually reveal, like, fun fact, this wasn't actually known to the public beforehand, but Total Biscuit, he chose to reveal that, like, hey, like co-op is the most popular avenue of StarCraft, and it has the most amount of players, of course, a campaign up there as well, and how that's like why things have been like focusing that kind of direction, and how they've garnered like a massive like player base as a result of that. Was after that, and he had learned that at a Blizzard summit. He had chosen to reveal that, and then that's in the end that became public knowledge. They go a little bit more into that. There's one thing that's like, I guess, like validation or vindication in regards to the Blizzard's approach to things at the time. I remember actually having a discussion with Pig. This would have been like in 2019, 2020 at ANZ Champs, where we were talking about Blizzard at the time, and I think at the time they'd announced that they were going to be stopping the battle chests, the war chests. And I was like, it's kind of weird because, like, from my understanding, this was making money. And it was these were profitable, but the thing is that, unfortunately, especially at the time, Activision Blizzard, they were hyper fixated on just purely profits. If you recall, this was further confirmed by Jeff Kaplan with his interview a couple of months ago with Lex Freedom regarding things happening with Overwatch. How he was being told like he has to make this amount of money by this amount of time, like otherwise like they're gonna start firing people. They're gonna put blame on Jeff Kaplan. Like again, he was very honest about what was happening during that era of Blizzard, and you get some kind of like some murmurings of that here, where Tim Morton was talking about how, like, hey, yes, skins were making money, the war chest was making money, like these things were making money. The Nova COVID Ops was also making money as well, but the amount of man hours that was put into it compared to making a skin in Overwatch or making like a pack in Hearthstone, it's not really comparable. Like you could put as much work, if not less work, into another IP, into another property, and make more money, much more money, just because the player base is so much larger, the game is so much more popular, and it's just kind of like a no-brainer sort of thing. So it's like, yes, on the one hand, you could make hundreds of thousands of dollars in StarCraft, or you could make millions of dollars in Overwatch, right? So like that's why in the end, the team over at StarCraft was kind of shrunk over time, and they pulled people away from that, and they pulled it more towards some of these other games, like your Diablo, or like your Hearthstone, or like your Overwatch, for example, and things were reallocated in that sort of way, or World of Warcraft, of course, a more subscription-based model with their mount system, for example, where you could buy mounts, infamously. So again, this is something that we had already kind of known already, but I guess just further confirmation about that era of time of Activision Blizzard. This is also one of the reasons why we have been trying to emphasize there's a difference between Activision Blizzard and Microsoft Blizzard, where I would say with conviction that those that are working on Blizzard or working at StarCraft right now, their approach to things are very different. They're very, very different, and it's less profit based. Because a bigger company like Microsoft has acquired them, they have a little bit more leeway. They have more of like a war chest or more like resources available to them. There's not as much pressure on the company to just purely fixate on making money like it was previously. I'm not saying that that's not something that they care about. I'm sure it is, of course, but the pressure is not as much there as it was back in Activision Blizzard. And you can tell when it comes to what's happening with the IPs over the past like year, 2 years, like maybe mainly like year of time that we've had with Microsoft Blizzard in regards to all of their smaller IPs. Like, it does look like they're getting more attention, they're getting more care, even if they don't really make anywhere near as much money as some of the other IPs out there. Like I always try to emphasize that distinction between the two of them. So a little bit more confirmation of that. They spoke, or Tim spoke a little bit more about the team that he had pulled together and constructed, leading into Stormgate itself. Talking about leaving Blizzard and starting up a new company as well, and then what that kind of entailed. Again, we saw something similar with Jeff Kaplan. I say similar. If you remember Jeff Kaplan, he took a longer time away from Blizzard first before like a bunch of ex-Blizzard employees came together and decided to start working on their own game together in their own IP as well, and that's on the horizon, of course. When it comes to what's happening there, here we spoke a little bit more about Stormgate, and of course its struggles and in the end failings, of course, as well. Stormgate, infamously, I feel like there were a bunch of perceptions about Stormgate, and I do respect Hearthstone a lot for actually addressing a lot of that, and for Tim actually responding to a lot of that as well. Whether there's truth to these words, or whether it's just kind of like PR, so to speak, hard to say. I'd like to I'd like to give him the benefit of the doubt and take him at his word in regards to certain things that were said during this interview. So one of the big criticisms that Hearthstone levied and made sure that Tim Morten was aware of when it comes to the outside perception, and it was my perception as well, I think for a lot of people, was the idea that Frost Giant and Stormgate was a little bit directionless in regards to their game design and game philosophy. Like, that was a big criticism, and a well-known criticism as well for Stormgate, is it felt like there was no driving factor, there was no like backbone to the game itself, and it was very fluid and very unstable as a result of that. And it was kind of like shifting and moving around quite a bit when it comes to game design, when it comes to each of the races as well. Tim Morten pushed back against that, stating that they did listen to feedback, of course, and they did listen to what pros were very kind of adamant about, but for the most part, like they had their own kind of like vision and idea that they were trying to push forward. Again, this is where like I gotta kind of take him at his word when he says something like this, explaining that it wasn't like they didn't know what they were doing, and they were just kind of like giving it all up to like the community at large as to the direction of the game itself. So that was one of the things that they kind of discuss. Another thing that they mentioned as well was the game engine. I feel like this was the most important and the most interesting aspect, is that they spoke about how they flirted with the idea of maybe trying to get the license for the StarCraft engine, but it would just be too expensive to do something like that, and to get Blizzard to agree to something like that as well. But the idea that they had to build their own engine with Unreal, their own RTS engine, when they ended up calling it Snowplay, and how that took up the bulk of their resources and the bulk of their time, and maybe they like underestimated that a little bit as well. That was like a massive endeavor, to the point where, again, like when it comes to all the production that they put into the game, again, like I would say 70-80% of it was into the game engine itself. Like it was more difficult than they had maybe anticipated. I do appreciate that Hearthstone prodded a little bit at this, like asking about, like, looking back on it, like, do you think that you could have done it like more efficiently, or could have done it faster, or knowing what you know now? And Tim was like, no, like we had like the best, like some of the best people in the business, like when it comes to working on like an RTS game engine, and it was just very, very difficult for them. It was just work that they had to put through, and it was just something that had to be done to create that foundation. And eventually they did, but as I mentioned, it took up most of what they had to get that foundation going. By the time they ended up hitting something like the campaign and the rest of the game, like they were running out of time. Like there was like 9. I think they want to say it was like 9 months. It was like, which is crazy, to work on the campaign and work on the other aspects of the game and try to refine it for early access. It was very, very little time, and they kind of attribute that to why like they struggled as much as they did, just because they spent so much time on the engine, and had so little time left for everything else. Um, there is something that Tim did say when it comes to like certain regrets, and he does feel like he wishes they should have been a little bit more focused. I would agree with that as well. If you remember, they were working, once the game engine was done, they were working in a couple of different areas at once. They're working on the campaign, yes, but if you remember, they were also working on co-op as well, which makes sense because co-op was meant to be the kind of big, most popular aspect of the game. But the reality is that the campaign is the most important part. And I think I even kind of alluded to it before. Like the campaign is the version of the game that gets the most amount of play, followed by co-op, and then like multiplayer at the very back. Like then like team games, and then 1v1, when it comes to StarCraft at least. And they did, they did bring Monk over, right? Like the guy behind the SC2 like co-op like aspect of StarCraft 2, but maybe getting a little bit ahead of themselves working on that when everything should be fixated on the campaign, on that foundation of the game itself. That was our big criticism coming into the early release of Stormgate, was that the campaign felt undercooked, when the campaign is the most important part of an RTS, because that is what the majority of people play. As much as we love 1v1 and the competitive aspect of things, we're in the minority, right? The majority of people just play the campaign and that's it. And then it was co-op thereafter. So for them to kind of split their attention when it comes to co-op, when it comes to the campaign, when it comes to 1v1 and versus, like there was a lot of attention kind of spread there when they had so little time to work with as well. Remember, they had like 9 months. So they definitely could have like trimmed and slimmed the team down, focusing purely on that campaign aspect. Retroactively, we can talk about this, and then release with that and worry about 1v1 later after the fact. Like that shouldn't have taken as much attention as it did when it comes to balancing, when it comes to how races should work, for example, or the co-op side of things, where they were trying to release a co-op version and have co-op commanders and things of that nature at the same time. Tim, he limited a little bit about that, about the direction, and at the end of the day, like it does come down to Tim, right? Like this is like, I'm just like comparing interviews here, and Jeff Kaplan, he took a lot of ownership being the director of Titan, if you recall. Like he was talking about a lot of regrets, being stuck or trying to create Titan, trying to create this MMO that eventually failed, and he put a lot of that on himself because he was leading that team. And something that I found interesting here, it felt like Carson was trying to ask a similar question, where if you remember, in regards to the Titan project, Jeff Kaplan, he knew that Titan was a failed project like 2 or 3 years before they canceled it. Like it was very apparent that it was like a sinking ship, like that there was no leading direction, and there were like too many cooks in the kitchen, and there were too many like ideas pulling in different directions, and it was just all over the place, and he could see like the train crashing like well ahead of time. And Harsam, he has something similar here, where he's like, hey, at what point like did you realize that like things were not going well and things were like looking dire and things of that nature? And Tim was like, no, like it was fine. Like he was saying more like, no, like we put in the work, and we put in and we did our best, and we tried to do what we could, and we were hoping to to reignite interest in players, and try to regain some of that just some of that confidence with the player base to be able to find more funding and things of that nature. Like he was very much so like approaching things in a very different kind of way. And again, like that, this is where I mentioned before that like it's like some of this seems like maybe a little bit of PR speak, especially because like it is well known that Tim Morton, things were said on social medias, LinkedIn and otherwise, in regards to internal thoughts about how Stormgate was progressing and Frost Giant as a company as well. So yeah, so there's definitely like some opposing ideas or opposing conflicting like narratives being portrayed there. Um, but he didn't necessarily go into the idea of things looking like they were going south like ahead of time, and maybe trying to salvage the situation. Like that, like he was not really going down that road. So it's just interesting, kind of like comparing the two conversations, like comparing the two kind of like approaches to game directing, if you will. But yeah, that's it was a pretty lengthy interview. They go a little bit more like into like certain like builds of the game, and certain iterations of the game as well. Like Harston talking about things from his perspective. I think another interesting aspect as well when it comes to the interview is talking about like feedback and talking about criticism and talking about public backlash as well. Something that I feel like should have been a little bit more vocal from the side of Harston was that here he had spoken up about something that is known by everyone, of course, is just how much hate and how much vitriol there was for David Kim when it comes to being the face of balance for StarCraft. I want to say there's a reason why when it comes to the most recent like Blizzard patches, the past like 2, 3, 4 patches from Blizzard, like there is no name like associated with it. Like it's very much so like Blizzard is making this, but there's no like name associated, just because of just how much hate David Kim received over the years. Like when I say hate, I mean like intense, like some intense stuff, to the point where Harston was talking about like when he was a part of the Balance Council, how things also got kind of crazy, where he was getting a lot of private messages, like he was getting a lot of emails, like he was sent like his own home address, for example, like things of that, like some wild stuff. And how if that's happening to Hearthstone, who's only a part of a Balanced Council during a period where StarCraft is a little bit smaller in scope, and he's a part of a bigger council itself, like you can imagine the kind of wild stuff that was happening to either David Kim or to Tim Morton and the Stormgate team as well. So they spoke a little bit on that, on kind of on the behavior of people of the community, and things of that nature. And it was a little bit more like illuminating for sure as well, especially in regards to kind of like to what Harston was receiving, which I was unaware of. So I do think that it was good that came out, and that was spoken about, just to try to illuminate something like that, and hopefully make people second guess themselves when it comes to how they act. Probably won't, but like it's good to be. It's awareness is always a good thing, regardless, as people can always be very extreme when it comes to things that they care about, of course, to a negative degree. And yeah, I think it was good that they spoke about that here as well. And again, it's a bit of a longer interview. As I mentioned, like I would say that the first like half hour, the first 40 minutes, there wasn't really too much value there when it came to them talking about StarCraft. I think that was a little bit more interesting when they did delve a little bit deeper into Stormgate. And as we mentioned, like I do give a lot of credit to Hearthstone when it comes to the interview itself. I do think that it was very well thought out, and it felt a little bit more natural. And there were a lot of follow-up questions as well. I mentioned earlier that like a weakness that State has or that Tasteless have is that it often feels like they have questions written down, and that's it. So whenever an answer is received, they just kind of move on, and there's no follow-up. Whereas here, like Harston was very engaged, and it was much more like a conversation slash interview more than anything, and it was really well done, and I appreciate the interview that was held here by Harston. I was very impressed, very very impressed. So I do recommend it. It's a bit of a longer interview, of course, 2 hours. You can always put it on like 2 times speed, which is what I did. But you can always adjust that, and go at your own pace, of course, as well. Put it on the background. Always an interesting listen to, especially if you're maybe a little bit less familiar with some of the earlier aspects of StarCraft, or especially early legacy as well. I mentioned earlier that like a lot of this is kind of ground that we've gone over before, but that's only if you're a little bit more engrossed in StarCraft, if you're a little bit newer or haven't listened to some of the previous interviews over the years and previous community members and figures speaking up about certain things, then this might be a little bit more of a refresher or newer to you, and there's more value in that as a result. So yeah, do check it out. Do check it out. Shout out to Hearthstone. I don't know if Kuro had something to bring up regarding this. I know that you also listened to it as well.
No, I think we covered pretty much all of it. I'm trying to think if there was anything in particular.
Chats. You're like, we did the C stream for the upcoming Home Restore Cup. Excuse me, we were the B stream for the past couple of years, but most likely not. When it comes to B stream or C stream or D stream or any other stream, we unfortunately will not be involved in that. Nowadays, it's hard to cover European events. It's just at a really rough time for us, and yeah, I don't have as much freedom to cover EU events like previously. So most likely not. Most likely not. Do apologize. So didn't have anything to add, Guppa? No. So yeah, so do recommend it. Do check it out. The interview, definitely a lot of value there to be had. Up next, we did have a video made by DNS. Again, shout out to DNS, by the way. He's really stepped into this content creator role, but I think more importantly, he's kind of stepped into a role of content creation that isn't really being done at the moment, which is there's like some game show-esque sort of approach to things and a little bit of video essay as well. I do think there's a lot of room in StarCraft for this at the moment. There's a lot of room for stuff like this. We have like these big said bodacious, bombastic, there we go. These big bombastic, big works of art that I would say that Panda Bear Me, Isaac, has been making in regards to these annual documentaries, but they're once a year, right? They're once a year. There's still plenty of room here for delving into some of the other aspects of StarCraft history, and I do really appreciate that DNS has found a bit of a niche, doing more than just bronze to GM or just fun strats on the ladder. There's definitely a lot more that's being done here by DNS, and I appreciate the creativity. And I appreciate that he's kind of branching out in other aspects. When it comes to the video itself that I'm referring to, the craziest career ending in StarCraft 2, Rain, a video focused and fixated on Rain. The vindication from me and Yaku. If you're old school viewers of the CranKy Ducklings, you would know that whenever I would cast with Yaku, for whatever reason, because we casted a lot of PvP, and eventually all of our discussions about PvP ended with Rain. We would always bring up Rain in some way.
It's been years since Rain played, and they would still end up talking about Rain eventually.
Yeah. Any Protoss match of just talking about the X-axis, the Y-axis, the patience aspect as well, and we would just bring up Rain at some point. Big Rain fans. Fun fact, funnily enough, Yaku's a Terran, I'm a Zerg. We are not we're not Protoss players at all, but we would still come back to Rain, papi. That's what's important. That's so it was really cool to see DNS create a video surrounding Rain. I think we spoke about this during not the last Panda Bear Me video, but the one before that, the Sue video, how there are just so many stories to be told in StarCraft. There are so many. You can pick a player. You can pick Zest, Rain, MC, Stardust. You can go for True. You can go for Hydra, Polt, Violet even as well. There's a lot of players, even some more niche players, where they have a story to be told. There's a lot to dive into. Just pick a player. Just just throw a dart at the ball at a wall of players, and there's something to delve into. And there's a story to be told, just because there's so much history in StarCraft. I will say that this felt a little bit like a crash course, or almost. I feel like we didn't really delve or spend too much time on any one aspect of Rain's career. We just kind of went over it at a brief pace. That's one of my criticisms about the video. It's a relatively short video, only 10 minutes. You could make an argument one way or another. Because it's only 10 minutes, it's very digestible. It's very, very digestible. But at the same time, I do feel like we could have gone more in depth into certain aspects of narratives, of Rain's narrative and his story and his history, talking about each win, talking about his time in SKT, talking about his time in Brood War as well, his time abroad, joining My Insanity. All these things were touched upon, but I would say very briefly. That's my one thing, and it might be by design as well, to be honest. As I mentioned, this is much more digestible. It's much more shorter. But as someone who's an older school viewer of StarCraft, I was left wanting a little bit more, you know, like like this feels like Zoomer content. That's what this feels like. This is like for the Ebas of the world, for like the 12-year-olds, for like the TikTok generation, which I understand. But at the same time, like I wanted something a little bit deeper here when it comes to, again, certain aspects of Rain. I appreciate the video for what it was, regardless, of course. And again, as I mentioned, I do appreciate that DNS is branching out in this more kind of like video, almost an essay video, like uh, what's shorter than an essay? What's video paragraph sort of thing, which I appreciate for sure. The other thing that I will say regarding this video, I don't like the editing. So what I mean by that is that what you saw on screen, more often than not, was not reflective of the era that was being spoken about. There were periods in this video where he's talking about like Brood War, and he's showing clips of SE2, or he's talking about like the Heart of the Swarm era, but he's showing like clips of like Wings of Liberty. He's talking about one tournament, but he's showing clips from another tournament that he goes back to. It was really jarring. Like he was talking about Rain getting into like Heart of the Swarm. He showed a clip of like Hero versus Rain in the finals of IEM San Jose, I want to say. He showed them playing, and then later on in the video, he then started talking about IM San Jose, Rain versus Hero, and then he showed that same clip later in the video, a little bit more of an extended one, so that made it a little bit jarring. Like, I would say that something that Panda Bear Me is very good at is that he's very meticulous when it comes to what you're seeing on screen, connecting with the narrative that's being told with the dialogue. Here, it almost felt like quote unquote stock footage, where like a bunch of like clips of Rain playing were essentially collected and then just shown off and were revealed here, and it was a little bit disconnected, and it was to the point where it was noticeable, where I was like a little bit confused. I was like, he was talking about, you know, Rain when he was on My Insanity, but it was sorry, when he was on like SKT, but he was showing Rain with like a My Insanity jersey, like stuff like that. It's like, what? It's like where it felt very unfocused. Visually, specifically, like the dialogue and the narrative that's being told is fine, but again, like the visuals aren't quite connecting with it, which did stand out to me, at least, and did definitely was a little bit bothering. I'm also a little bit shocked. We showed very little Pro League clips, and I'm shocked that we didn't have the Rain Pro League clip. Like, it was not here. Like that's when I think of Rain, that's what I think of. Like, Kira, do you know what I'm talking about? When Rain, he wins the match in Pro League, he goes down and then he starts like high-fiving the crowd, like walking past. And then I think it was like the very end or one of the first ones, like the fangirl freaks out. She's like, ah! Like, she just freaks out when he touches her hand.
Yeah.
Like that is like the iconic Rain clip, when he's got his red like SKT jacket on, like he goes through the Pro League crowd, like touches everyone's hands, and like the fangirl freaks out. Like that's I might even just like find the clip, actually. Hold on, like
do it. Do it.
Let's see. Rain Soccer 2 Pro League fangirl. Oh god, like it's like a very infamous GIF. Like, I remember like showing that GIF to like people that don't even watch StarCraft, and then be like, that was hi. But yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't think I can find it here and now. But yeah, it's just I was shocked that we showed very little of Rain during that SKT era, for sure. Hold on. Nah, it might have been in like, I almost said PayPal. What was it? Skype. It might have been like in Skype messages when I sent it to my friends. Long time ago. But yeah. So I was a little bit shocked that they didn't show that GIF, the very, very infamous like fangirl freaking out Rain GIF. So regardless, like, I appreciate the video for what it was. As I mentioned, like, I would say that the video editing definitely left much to be desired, and I do kind of wish that we sunk our teeth a little bit more into the story that was being told. When it comes to the story itself, when it comes to the video, I do appreciate the very end, which I wasn't very familiar with, where he spoke about Rain. I do recall this, actually, where he said how Rain, when he retired from StarCraft, when he left SKT, like he had, like his plan was to retire then and there. And then My Insanity, they contracted him for a year, and he decided to keep playing for a year after joining My Insanity. I wish that a little bit more emphasis was put into why he left SKT to begin with, because that was left a little bit vague. And I also wish that we had a little bit more here talking about his transition into Brood War, back into Brood War, and why he went to Brood War as well, because I'm pretty sure there was some revelations about that as well. When I say revelations, like there was some like videos or some streams where Rain opened up a little bit about it, like on stream on Afrika, talking about like his time back in Brood War. That was like rushed at the very end, talking about how like Rain, like he was very successful, and his streams are very, very popular nowadays on Soup in Brood War. But again, we kind of glossed over and rushed past that part as well. So again, I do wish that we delved into it a little bit more. I appreciate the video once again for what it is, and it is really cool to kind of like reflect back on Rain as well. But yeah, very different kind of approach to this kind of like to this player like biography, if you will.
So since we are talking about the memories of Rain, my one memory of Rain is that trailer of him versus Flash for like an SSL or something.
Yeah.
That was the best trailer, because they had like an entire video of bloopers from just recording that trailer, and like 99% of that video, of the blooper video, was literally Flash and Rain trying to walk up to each other and stare each other in the eyes and not laugh. That was the video.
For those that don't remember, and again, like there was very little time spent in the Pro League era in this video, like unfortunately. But like Rain, he was like one of the aces of SKT. SKT was full of ace players, is the thing, but he was like, you know, a big name on SKT. Flash, he was the big name of KT, and there was a big rivalry between SKT and KT as well. I want to say, was Rain the one that did he lightsaber down Stork? No.
I don't remember.
There was a bunch of memes during Pro League, a bunch of memes. I know Parting did a few of them as well. When I say memes, because Flash notoriously he had his infamous ruler. There were a couple of jokes about that where like Parting would use his ruler to like snipe Flash, or I think afterwards Flash, I think he got action to dress up like a dinosaur, and then Flash used his ruler like a lightsaber and struck him down. There was some crazy nonsense going on in Pro League.
There was a lot of nonsense in Pro League. Like people have no idea. Those who did not catch on Pro League, like see, normally when people think about Korean players, they think about this like very stoic, you know, very polite people, right? But then you get to Pro League, to the Team League, where not only you could see all the B teamers like doing their part, because, you know, like the entire roster played, but after most matches they would have a prepared celebration of the victory, and yeah, some of them were getting ridiculous.
Yeah, I think especially back then, so this would have been like 2014, 15, 16 era of StarCraft. Like the people that like memed about like Koreans not having any kind of like any kind of emotion or any kind of personality, that was just like a self-report that you just don't watch Pro League, right? Or that you don't, it was a self-report that you don't watch Pro League. It was also a self-report that you don't watch the GSL group selection. Because that was ironically, that's like the best part of GSL was the group selection.
That's another thing. The GSL group selections were like an entire like, this was not like
it was a show.
It was not like, you know, like now we have the RSL where like it's like Gemini or someone like, you know, pulling the names, and that's a group. No. You actually got the players in the studio. And they were miming for an entire hour or two, picking each other for the groups and like just teasing each other. And like I think like the champion of the previous season could like swap players or something. Like there was a whole show associated with it.
Yeah, and the hosts, the casters and the hosts would often like kind of like poke and prod and like try to instigate some things or make a bunch of drama as well. Because as you said, like often at the very end of the group selection, the previous champion would be able to swap. So then the host would go to all the players and be like, "Hey, advocate for yourself," you know, like to have you maybe swapped out of your group somewhere else, you know, and people be like, oh, you know, I'll make your group easier, right? Like you don't want to, you don't want to play more TVTs, do you? Like you want to like stuff like that. Like you try to like appeal to each other, or maybe not appeal to each other at all, and have some more like spicy dynamics between the players as well. Like it was just an entire show.
Yeah, I remember
it
that
was
one
great.
of the last GSLs with group selection. That was when Teja just decided to play randomly, and he suddenly turned really good, even though he wasn't planning to. And they were like, "There's clearly something in the water, Teja. Like there's something in the water." And that's what they revealed. That I think Speed made it to the same season, and he said that he's living around where Teja is, so they're drinking the same water. You know?
Yes.
There was like a whole meme about this.
Yeah. I still remember when MC showed up for the first time, because MC he was a international like player instead, and when they region locked WCS Europe, he had to go back to GSL instead, and he was there for the first time in years. He was the boss toss, of course, and he came in with like a massive like puff jacket and and like a bunch of like, especially the younger players, were like giving him like some praise. I want to say Dream was doing that as well. I want to say like there was a lot going on there. But like there were a bunch of momentous like moments here where you got to see them interact with each other, right? Like Maru and Terminator for Pro League, always, forever, stuff like that. You got to see who's friends with each other, and the kind of cliques within like the Korean scene as well. Yeah, good times. That's why we love Pro League so much. Pro League, and of course the GSL group selection, which doesn't really exist anymore. We get the closest thing we get nowadays to GSL group selection is what we had during GSL CK, like the player like voice comms, like the player voice comms, having them all like banter with each other and stuff like that. Like that, I feel like that's like the closest we get nowadays, and that's purely for Koreans as well, because there's no like English translations for stuff like that, except for what we got
I would say
during GSL.
That is also an important thing to point out. The GSL selection show was translated. Like there was a translator sitting there and keeping us updated.
Yeah. Translations were there. It's crazy. It was crazy. Good times. But yeah. That's a bit of a side tangent. It feels bad, man, when it comes to Pro League. But when it comes to video, it was very, very light when it comes to like that Pro League era StarCraft as well, which felt a little bit weird for sure.
See, what do we need? We need to convince the RSL people to hold selections.
True.
Even look, because they're like, oh, we just have a studio, for the cast. No. Screw it. Take all the players, like just squeeze them in the room and just make some content.
I mean, I've been very vocal about this before, where I feel like the people working on RSL have grossly underutilized the fact that they have a studio built and that they have access to players. It's been very disappointing, very, very disappointing regarding to RSL, and I hope that they do something more, because they can, and that leads us into our topic later on in the show. But yeah, we'll see what happens with RSL. There's definitely a little potential for content, a little potential to do more with RSL, and hopefully they do one day. Hopefully. Up next, we do have the Lone Star Open StarCraft Miniatures game open. I almost said invitational, but it's an open tournament. The first of the tabletop miniatures big tournaments has been announced for August the 1st and 2nd. From my understanding, there's going to be a bunch of these events, by the way, but this is the first big event that has been announced regarding the StarCraft miniatures game. We have a couple of details regarding it as well. It is going to be a 1,000 point game. I think we spoke about this previously, but there are different versions of the game, quote-unquote versions of the game that you can play. Basically, there are certain supply caps you can play with, like 1,000 point games, 2,000 point games, 3,000 point games. And of course, they require more miniatures and a bigger army. 1,000 point games, I want to say that's kind of like the minimum. It also makes for shorter games as well,
I want to say
but it's more accessible. That's what's important.
I want to say that like the official, like, I don't know if official is the good word for it, but like the main game mode that the game is designed for.
The recommended amount.
Yeah, the recommended is the 2,000, but the 1,000 is also like I think that like that Archon Studios has planned for that. Like their default is either 2,000 or 1,000.
Yeah, it's 2000 is what it's balanced around. 1000 is kind of like the entry mode, if you will, and it makes sense for the first tournament to be that as well, especially because early on in the lifespan of this game, people aren't going to have massive armies, right? Like they're not going to have then, and they shouldn't have massive armies. We spoke about this a couple of months ago when we spoke about purchasing your armies, how there's value in waiting. Don't suddenly, buy a bunch of sets of like Zerglings and Hydras and Roaches and things like that to get a maxed out army when we have units coming out on a bi-monthly basis, right? Like every 2 months, like new units are coming out. It's worth, getting a couple like your set of Zerglings, your set of Hydras, then wait, and then bam, you're gonna get like Mutas released later and Vipers released like in like 1 or 2 months. It's worth waiting for that to kind of like construct your army how you wish, instead of like rushing to like a max out like 2000 like point army.
Yeah, to be fair, it's worth mentioning that the starter boxes, because a lot of people did get the starter boxes, actually already include a full army.
Yeah, they do. But there's no need to like rush into like constructing that kind of army. I mean, I guess the only reason you would is if you have the resources to do so, of course, and you plan on competing immediately. But there's definitely value in like kind of like waiting a little bit, to just so you can wait for more units to arrive, and then you can kind of like see how armies are constructed, and then try to like create that yourself as well, and maybe even experiment a little bit. But regardless, it is going to be at the Marriott Hotel and Convention Center. Is going to be in the beginning of August, the 1st and 2nd of August. And I believe it's going to be in, is that Texas? Is that Texas? Yes?
I mean, it says
yes.
Allen, Texas.
Yeah.
It's Allen.
It all goes full circle.
Yes.
Allen, Texas. There we go.
Yeah, I was gonna say, was it a tournament called Lone Star Clash? Is it related?
Yeah, Lone Star Clash was a tournament. I don't know if it's related. I do not know. But regardless, it's great to see. The event take place, and I do wish the best to all those that are going to be that are going to be participating. Again, it's going to be a great introduction to the game. As I mentioned, 1,000 point games as well, so smaller armies. You don't have to invest in anything too crazy, and a great way to kind of meet like-minded individuals as well in the miniature space. So if you happen to be local or traveling, then do consider going to the main event happening August 1st and 2nd over in Texas, Allen, Texas. Do check it out. Meanwhile, up next, we have RSL. RSL Season 6 has been announced. There was a bit of a break between Season 5 and Season 6. Season 4 and 5 were like back-to-back, by the way. It was crazy. It was all like just kind of smushed in. Here we had a break.
Season 4 and 5 were back-to-back, and in between there were 2 GSL seasons as well.
Yeah, the GSLs. Yeah, it was all just smashed together. Of course, it was a big revelation as well that the RSL Season 6 finals will be taking place at BlizzCon. So big news regarding that, a big collaboration project as well. Remember that there's also going to be the Blizzard Cup, or the Classic Cup, that's going to be taking place at BlizzCon. But looks like they've been able to organize RSL as well. It also helps that Tasteless was going to be there regardless, so like that's already like one half of RSL at BlizzCon, and Artosis is going to be there as well. True, so they can just have Tastosis cover the final day of RSL, those finals, and it does mean just more StarCraft at BlizzCon, which again is not a bad thing. I'm sure one of the reasons why they're able to push this through is because Taste Hosters were already going to be at BlizzCon, right? They were already going to be there, so that does take away like the idea of trying to like fly additional casters over or anything like that. Likewise, RSL, like they already have their own prize pool covered as well, so there's no additional money to be funded through that. So I'm sure Blizzard were happy to collaborate in such a way as there's like minimal like resources invested here from Blizzard. Of course, will be taking place September 13th. When it comes to the schedule itself, it looks like we're going to be starting up the schedule here on the 11th of July, so next month. Next month, we do have 2-day events. I believe this schedule doesn't show off the qualifiers. This is just for like the group stage and the playoffs.
Yes,
the Saturday, Sunday.
The qualifiers are on the last days of June. For those interested in competing or watching, they are on the last days of June, so make sure to sign up.
Yep. The next graphic that we have here, outside of the grand finals being at BlizzCon, is that of course we do have the qualifiers. So we have the Americas qualifier June the 28th. We have the Korean qualifier on June the 29th, and the European qualifier on June the 30th. Assuming that that's a finalized date, and we're not gonna have to move things over.
Yeah, I have to say that I believe that the Korean qualifier will be moved to the next day. I don't think it has yet, but I got the information that it should be moved.
Yeah. So we should be moving the Korean qualifier. Regardless, as was stated, this will be in around 2 weeks' time. Yep, 2 weeks' time-ish will be those qualifiers. Again, top 8 seeded from Season 5, and then we have 2 players from each qualifier advancing on into the main event, and 2 players added via the Patreon voting. Speaking of Patreon voting, we do have the confirmed new map pool as well. For the RSL, we have 3 maps added on. We have the Old Sun Temple, Fear and Faith, and Voidstorm. I appreciate that Voidstorm was voted in. If you remember, I was very disappointed that Voidstorm struggled as much as it did when it comes to the TLMC. But great to see it added here. It's a hyper-aggressive map. And then we have the 4-player small maps as well. We have Old Sun Temple, we have Fear and Faith, and we have Exarch as well. So we have all the 4-player small maps. I would say this is a map pool of extremes, because we have Old Sun Temple, Fear and Faith, and Exarch, the 4-player small maps, but we also have Voidstorm and Rorschach, which are 2 hyper rush maps as well. So, so this is we do have the extremes here. The maps in the middle, I would also say Celestial Enclave is also a hyper extreme macro map. I would say that the most standard map here is probably at Attorney's Edge. Ruby Rock is also a rush map. Necropolis, I still haven't really delved too much into. I guess Necropolis might also be like a quote-unquote standard map. I'm still not happy that it's there. It's a map that didn't make it into the top TLMC maps in the last Team Liquid map contest, or this one either. So I still feel like it shouldn't really be. It's still the odd one out. It's the ugly duckling of the map pool, when we could be showcasing more TLMC maps instead. But regardless, it's great to see all these maps come together, and it's cool to see a new kind of expanded map pool for sure. For sure. Time for Max Packs to qualify and show up for BlizzCon. Ignoring the fact that Max Paxi was recently disqualified from RSL because he's not going to offline events.
But imagine how crazy of a timeline it would be if he was like, you know what, it's BlizzCon, I have to do it. It's just that.
Yeah, it would be nice.
That would be crazy.
If he finally decided, you know what, finally I'm going to reveal myself, and it'd be very Hitman-esque. That's kind of, when I think of Max Pax, I think of Hitman. For those who don't remember, Hitman was the original Max Pax, where he was like an online ladder hero and an online beast, and no one knew what he looked like because he never went to offline events until finally. The only reason why people finally got to see him is because he qualified. I want to say he qualified for a season of WCS Americas, and then everyone got to see him.
I remember he qualified for WCS Americas, so yeah, it was the first time people were seeing him. I specifically remember for some reason that was like years ago, and I think he was the first player using a wireless mouse, because everybody thought it was really weird back then. Right now, a lot of players do. Like at this point, a lot of players do have wireless mice. But back then, that was like, what is he doing?
Well, back then, wireless mice were also worse, right? Like they were also less reliable. Like there was a little bit more like ping and just like battery life as well. So
I just remember that back then it was shocking. I think I don't remember if if his keyboard was like any special, but I specifically remember somebody mentioning that he's using a wireless mouse. How is he playing?
Yeah, it reminds me a lot actually of, I don't know if you remember, we probably should have spoken about this actually. Euthermal, he recently released a video going over his first time competing in StarCraft, and how when he went to the LAN events, he didn't know what was happening, and I think he was using a membrane keyboard. To compete, which is crazy, by the way.
I mean, look, it's a keyboard. It works.
It is a keyboard. He was using like a membrane keyboard, and he didn't know how to plug his keyboard and mouse into the PC because he just didn't. He was like 15 years old. Like he didn't know what it was doing, and he actually had to ask Grubby. He had to ask Grubby to help him like plug his stuff in because he didn't know how to. And funnily enough, he came second in that tournament. He beat Hearthstone. Despite being like masters, like he didn't know what he was doing. He didn't know any builds. Like he just kind of like Protoss it up, and he beat Hearthstone. He beat like some old Warcraft 3 pros as well. And
I'm just gonna say, sometimes there are players who are like, pros at the game. They're like really good at the game. And then you're like, okay, so now you can like set your mouse sensitivity settings. And they're like, what settings? There are settings?
No.
So just the fact that someone is good at the game doesn't mean that they're like very knowledgeable about the tech behind it.
For sure. That's even the case now. That's even the case nowadays as well with current pro players.
I feel like nowadays most people like know just by experience. Like a few years ago that was a thing, but I feel nowadays I don't think we have people who are like that, like to that extent. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I push back against that.
You think so? Like among the pro players?
Among the pro players. Yeah, I'm not going to name names 100% this week. Okay. Yeah. But yeah, regardless, so again, RSL is announced. We have our map pool, we have our schedule as well, and as always, we're going to be co-streaming it. I do apologize if you recall, things did occur and we were not able to co-stream the finals of RSL season 5, so I just didn't get to see them. I think Hero won, right? Did he win? I think he beat Clem in the finals. Yeah, I think so. So hopefully we'll be able to cover and co-stream the entirety of this season 6 finals and even BlizzCon as well. Hopefully we'll be able to do so. Hopefully. Otherwise, up next, that leads us into our main events. Oh, the Ubu Thermal 2v2 circuit has concluded. It was a very intense year of StarCraft, covering the main season, the main season, the bonus cups, leading into the group stage last week, leading into the main event this week as well, the playoffs. A really interesting, really unique format. There was a difference between this year and last year, but the season and the circuit was different. We still had the same kind of format in group stage 1, was round robin and everyone played with everyone. So you'd have a different kind of partner every single round and you'd eventually play with everyone in your group. Last time, I believe that based on your end standings in each group, you'd be tied to and you'd be seated with basically a partner from the opposing group, and then you'd be stuck with that partner for the rest of the playoffs. But it led into, I would agree with it, but even Thermal as well, it led into some more lackluster kind of matches in the playoffs. It was a little bit more one-sided, and straight up just some teams were better than others because we were stuck with like mirrored teams. I remember, I think it was like Lambo and Cyril was stuck together with like a couple of double Zerg teams, for example, like they were just kind of like tied to the hip because of their rough standings in the group stage.
To be clear,
it just led to less exciting, less entertaining matches.
Yeah, to be clear, like the way teams were picked was specifically to avoid the mirrors. It's just that, like, at some point you just couldn't do it anymore because that's all the players you had left.
Yeah, exactly. So in the end, did decide and did settle on the idea that the playoffs and the final day would also be a round-robin group stage. So we brought together all the top 12 players from Group Stage 1 into Group Stage 2. We get one final round-robin group stage to confirm and to finalize the top players, the best 2v2 players out there. And out of all players, it was Big Gabe, someone that didn't even play last year. He was not an active competitor in the previous season, in the previous circuit of 2v2. And this season even came in late. I wouldn't say like started competing like halfway through like the season, right? Like Gabe was not playing. Actually, I say that Gabe was playing in the beginning with status, and then like kind of like took a big break and stopped competing for a while.
And then he came back with Classic. He found a new teammate slightly better.
Yeah. It was like 3 weeks left as well. Like there wasn't much. There weren't many like open cups remaining by the time he jumped on with Classic. But yeah, they jumped in together. They performed very well in the main season, and that led into, of course, a group stage. Likewise, it Excel here, and Big Gabe, he came out on top as the best 2v2 player in the world.
Yeah. By the way, for those who missed it, I do recommend watching the Hero Marine POV of those monthly caps with Classic, because I have never seen Hero Marine being so happy about Protoss. Let's put it that way. He was just so happy.
He was not just happy, but he was glazing Classic a lot. Like he was very respectful. Like he was always giving him like credit where credit was due. Like he was always like, and not in like a mocking way either. I think we spoke about this at the time, like when we were covering some of the open cups. But Gabe, he was always like giving a lot of praise to Classic whenever he could. And even coming into this event as well, like it was very mannered, more so than what we expect from Gabe. Like he's at times a little bit more yeah, a little bit more spicy at times, or a little bit more, emotional at times as well, especially when it comes to Protoss. But yeah, we saw a very different, a much more humble, a much more wholesome side of Gabe in this tournament and in this tournament series in 2v2. And in general, like, this also allowed for some more socializing between all these players. I remember it was last circuit last season where like Shameless was interacting with people for the first time in a long time, or just for the first time period, just kind of like forcing social interaction. I know that Utherm was joking about it, but unironically true, right? Like there was I feel like it's been very beneficial for the scene as a whole. It was a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun. As Kuro was alluding to, there was a lot of streaming going on. There was a streamer bonus for this event, so there were a lot of players that were streaming their POVs and they were streaming their comms as well. Another fun aspect of this tournament was the fact that all the casters were actually jumping into voice channels to listen in on a bunch of these conversations while they were playing. So Steadfast, Rotterdam, Euthermal will often just jump into voice channels and voice calls to listen in to like Cyril and Clem talking, or Gabe and Classic, or Gabe and Lambo, or some of these other duos and pairings to listen in on their conversations. Which also led to a lot of meme moments, infamously with Solar, for example, with Solar and Spirit, or just Solar in general, Solar and Cyril, where Solar, he is known for being also like a pretty like emotional player. and I feel like you saw some of that here like, as well, so, his personality shine through.
To put it really in short words, Solar is very easily tilted, and when he tilts, he tilts. Okay?
Yeah.
He is angry.
So that made for a lot of meme content here throughout, for sure. And yeah, it was great. Again, I do recommend checking out the Wikipedia page, and do check out all the POVs. They're all listed below, so you can potentially see the VODs saved as well for each player POV, or of course the mainstream VODs as well from all the other casters should be available on YouTube and other platforms as well. So do check it out. And again, congratulations to Gabe, to Gabe for coming in first place, Max Pax in second, alongside Clem and Cyril as the top 4 players, and of course the rest of the top 12 thereafter, where of course I did all earn prize money. There was that stream bonus as well. It was a massive prize pool. It was $30,000 USD, which was crazy, by the way, for a tournament like this. And yeah, and from my understanding, Euthermal, he actually recently, today, it was either today or yesterday, did actually make a post on YouTube, like a community post, talking about plans for another circuit, another season, and plans to change the format as well. So do look forward to it. By
the way, I don't know if you were there for the ending of Euthermal's stream, but he was also floating idea for another event, which would be like
the Anonymous Cup.
Yeah, the full Anonymous. Which again, I want to say, because there were organizers that have done it before, so I feel like he should look to them for inspiration if that's what he wants to do.
Yeah, no regret, right? He did the Anonymous Cup. There's been a couple of Anonymous Cups out there, even more recently as well.
No Regret most famously did a whole series of Anonymous, and then I want to say like a year or two ago we casted the CIS version of Anonymous. Yep. Well, I remember because I loved it because the players changed their names specifically for the tournament. It wasn't barcodes, they were actually having names. And some of them actually started changing their names mid-tournament, like before they played, because I think it was like King of the Hill. And eventually, in the final game of the King of the Hill, we ended up with a matchup of the Decepticon versus Optimus Prime.
Yes, Optimus Prime versus the Decepticons.
It was amazing. I love the memery of it.
For sure. And it was a little fun trying to guess who was who, because we did guess a decent chunk correctly, but there were some like really noticeable players, like Shameless, for example. Like he always loves spraying whenever he throws down a pylon.
The Shameless was so obvious.
He was like the obvious one.
See, what you have to do is you have to like make a deal with another player so they do the same thing, so then you cannot
True. Yeah. I remember Nickrat threw me off because he was being very mannered. Like, if you remember, he was typing a lot in his games. And he was being very mannered to his opponent, and he's also known for being a little bit more upset or flamey even at times as well. I remember, I think verbatim, I was like, "There's no shot. This is Nickrat." I was like, "No, Nickrat is never this nice." And then it was Nickrat. I was like, I see. he was playing it up, He was playing it up for the memes, just to throw people off. Crazy, buddy, crazy. But it was a lot of fun. It was a lot of fun. The Anonymous Cup that was hosted by MinoVK, if you recall. It was MinoVK that did organize that. Um, so and God, they even brought. Did they bring in Print F? I remember they brought in like one player from the Americas or
Yeah, I
something
think it was
just to
Print
throw
F.
people
I
off
think
as
it was
well.
Print F,
Yeah.
It was like, oh yeah, it's gonna be like CIS players, and suddenly Print F. Like what?
Yeah, I thought it was Graph because there was a cannon rush involved. So I
Yeah.
was convinced it was Graph. I was like, no, it was Print F instead. It's like, oh, okay, never mind. So yeah, there's a lot of examples of anonymous cups out there. So we'll see what you think what kind of draws from. Otherwise, up next we do have the Water TV Spring Championship number 2020 from 2026 this year. We have some progression. The event is still ongoing, but we have concluded the. We already covered the group stage last time. I don't think
Well,
there's actually been any progression at all.
We finished the group stage 2 because there were still some matches missing last week.
Yeah, that's it. There was still a couple of matches remaining. So in the end, we have Kuro, Zan, and Shin advancing on out of Group A over Percival, Shameless, and Lambo. And then in Group B, we had Solar, Skillus, and Björn over Rogue, Trigger, and Geralt. I remember that in my mind, I was thinking that this was going to be Björn, Solar, and Rogue advancing on. Maybe Trigger. Like I was having a really hard time distinguishing between the Zerg players in this group, and whether or not Rogue or Solo would advance on. But Nikita Skillus, he pops off here, and Skillus advances on alongside Björn and Solar, so very impressive play. I think we spoke about this last time, that Skillus' play in general has been much more impressive as of late, much more than he's suddenly like spiked up in terms of skill over the past like month of play, like really recent times. So it's been really cool to see. Do appreciate it. GG. GG well played. With that, the main event, the playoffs are going to be starting today, and that means that next week we should have a champion, and we should be able to cover said champion next week during the podcast as well. Best of luck. We do have the first round seeded. It is Max Pax versus Shin, Kira versus Skillus, Hero versus Björn, Solar versus Down. We have Classic and Clem seeded further in the bracket as well. How do they get seeded in, by the way? Oh, right, there we go. From the seeding group stage. So Classic won his group, and Clem won his group as well. What distinguished Classic and Hero? Hold on. The head-to-head. Okay. Classic did beat Hero head-to-head despite being tied in score. So that did allow Classic to have the better seeding. And this means that Hero is on the same side of the bracket as Clem. Usually we expect them on opposite sides to face off in the finals. The fact that they're on the same side is brutal, by the way. So currently we're kind of slated to see Hero versus Clem in the upper bracket semifinals, but there is a lower bracket as well, so we can always see a comeback from whoever does lose. So it's going to lead to an interesting event overall here for sure. I'm leaning more towards like Hero, as always, Hero, Clem, Classic. Like those are the top 3 players of the event that we kind of look to. But Skills has been looking really impressive, and he can always cause an upset. Max, of course, is a strong player in his own right. We have Solar, who did surprisingly well in the group stage. Solar's been very shaky in this play, but hey, they look good in the group stage. So there's potential for some upsets here. There's definitely a close array of skill here, and we'll see who can make it through. We'll see. Best of luck. We'll be crowning our champion with the next couple of days, and we'll be here to cover that next podcast. Up next, we have Masters of the Game, MOG, Masters of the Game number 2. Once again, we have been unable to cover any of this on our channel just because we just haven't been available for it. European events nowadays are very difficult for us to actually cover, so whenever there's an event like this, I saw Lorimbo earlier asking about Home Story Cup. Again, we didn't cover the last Home Story Cup, most likely not covering this one or Masters of the Game. Right now, it's not too feasible for us to do something like that. If we do cover it via replays, most likely via replays, we'll be catching up with those events. Meanwhile, when it comes to Masters of the Game, we have Maru. Maru takes on Clem. 3-2 takes on Classic. 3-1 to advance onto the upper bracket. Very nice play there by Maru, taking down Classic. I was definitely favoring Classic coming into that series. Meanwhile, Cyril, he 3-1s Rogue. He 3-1s Hero. Big win for Cyril. And we have Cyril versus Maru in the upper bracket finals. Meanwhile, Clem is out. Clem, he 4-0'd Lambo, but he gets taken out by Hero. Hero takes down Clem 4-1. Big win there for Hero. Classic takes down Rogue 4-2. And we have 2 Protoss, 1 Terran, 1 Zerg, but Hero and Classic are going to knock each other out. And honestly, that can go either way. That's what's crazy. Like Hero and Classic, they can go either way here. I will say that I think that Hero... I would say that Hero probably has a stronger chance to have a deeper run in this event if he takes down Classic, more so. But like I can see Classic being Hero. Like this series can go either way. It's gonna be crazy. I do favor both of them over Maru. I'm curious to see how Maru plays against Serral. Based on Maru's recent performances against Shin and TVZ, I'm not too convinced, I'll be honest. Serral is the heavy favorite in this tournament, 100% to win the entire thing. Who's going to be his biggest threat, though? I can see it being a ZVP finals, to be honest. But, I mean, hey, Maru took down Classic earlier, so we'll see. In my mind, if Classic beats Hero, Maru beats Classic, and we get a Maru versus Serral rematch in the finals. If Hero beats Classic, Hero beats Maru, and then we get a Hero versus Serral rematch in the finals. So in my mind, it goes one of two ways: either Serral versus Maru or Serral versus Hero in the finals. But I mean, maybe Classic does surprise, maybe. But best of luck. Best of luck to all the players. This will be taking place in over a week's time. So best of luck. Up next, we do have our modded tournament, StarCraft Evolution, the SEL. The SEL StarCraft Evolution Ladder Invitational round of 12 has been taking place. We did wrap up Group A, I believe. Yes, Group A did conclude. A bit of a smaller group. Wait, what? Okay. Sorry, just a little bit caught off guard. Because I believe we have players seeded from Group Stage 1. Are we missing something here in Group Stage 2? What's going on? Am I crazy? Am I misinterpreting the format?
I cannot help you here.
Are we missing groups? Is that what it is? Are we just missing groups?
I don't know.
I
don't actually know the format of the ladder invitation. So, sorry, wasn't keeping up on it.
What is it? Where did Skills come from? Skills didn't come from Group Stage 1. What? Am I crazy? So Group Stage 2. Like we're not refining players, right? Yeah, okay. So it looks like Group Stage 2, it looks like the groups haven't been finalized. Like it looks like there should be more groups here. They just aren't.
Yeah, it says 4 groups. Yeah, it says in the format there should be 4 groups.
But 4 groups doesn't make any sense to me. Is it going to be 4 groups so we only get 1 player advancing on?
It says first and second place advances. I feel like either this is not the format or somebody didn't update it properly.
Yeah, hold on. Max packs. Am I blind? Where did Max packs come from? Like Max packs is in Group B of Group Stage 2.
Yeah.
But he didn't play in Group Stage 1. No, he did. Sorry, he did. Okay.
Okay.
I think what's happening here is all the first place finishers in Group Stage 1 get seeded directly in. 6.
Oh, no. Okay. I found it. 6 group of 4 players. First in each advances to playoffs. Seconds in each advances to Group Stage 2. There you go.
Yeah. See, so that's what I mean. So in Group Stage 1, Rumiath, Solar, Cure, Shin, Classic, and Beyond, they all advanced on into the playoffs. They're already in. And the second places, so Maxpack, Skillus, Creator, Def Mars, 3 and Yakov, they have to play in the group stage to be able to finalize that final playoffs bracket.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like usually when that's done, second place in Group Stage 1 would be yellow instead of green. Right? Isn't that usually the format? Is it just yellow because yellow means that they get seeded? Yeah.
No, I think yellow would make sense.
Yeah. So that's why. So I think the formatting here could be a little bit different, because yellow would signify that they get like seeded to the next stage to like keep competing, whereas the others get seeded directly into like the playoffs. Okay, all good.
I guess. Hold on. The question is, hold on. Let me. The only one player out of the Group Stage 2 actually makes it to the playoffs. Yeah?
Yes.
Okay, so so yellow would make sense.
Yeah, yellow would make sense for sure. So maybe we can fix that up in the future. Meanwhile, we do have the SEL Masters number 7 did conclude actually. Oh my god! So we had a bit of a unique format for the StarCraft Evolution Masters. Usually, this is a show match event with its own kind of format. Here, this was the PTR edition to test some of the changes. We had group stage leading into playoff bracket. We had Rumiath and Björn advancing out of Group A. We had Laser and Prome out of Group B. We had Zardiant and Skillus out of Group C, and 3 Point and Deathmars out of Group D. Rebellion, Milky Cow, Young Yakov, and Honmono were knocked out of the tournament, and that did construct our final playoff brackets. Single elimination, best of 3s into best of 5 into best of 5 finals here, and out of all players, a Laser popping off. I don't know if you are aware of this, Kura, but I believe, is this the first time a Laser's playing in StarCraft Evolution tournaments? Like, he is not a regular in SEL at all.
I want to say I have seen him before, but as you said, he's definitely not a regular.
Yeah. So really cool to see a Laser competing in this event, just because he is a rare sight. He does not play in StarCraft Evolution much. I don't really think of him as an SEO player. He took down Deathmars, took down Zardiant, and he 3-0'd Skillus. That 3 over Skillus is the most impressive part to me. So very impressive play here by Laser. Someone who took a big break from StarCraft last year, playing a lot of Age of Empires, recently came back, and now to compete in the SEL and to have some success here. Really cool to see, and I hope to see more of a Laser in the future. Meanwhile, a big shout out to Luis GGG in the chat. God, thank you so much. Thank you so much here for the raid. I hope you had a great stream. Hope you had a great ladder session. Welcome one and all to the PondCast weekly wrap-up show. Here we go. Here we go. Who were the 2 Korean pros talking mad banter the other day? Oh god, that it's slipping my mind, but we did have some banter.
It down.
Yeah.
Because they all banter. It's just that most of the banter is in Korean, so we don't know it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think it was in Kung Fu Cup. I think it was oh god.
Was it Björn? Björn likes to.
It was Björn and Shin. It was Björn and Shin. It was Björn who was making fun of Shin, who lost in Masters of the Game in GSL. They were in the finals of Kung Fu Cup, I want to say, and he was making fun of Shin, and then Shin beat him. It was I say he beat him. He won. He didn't win the series. He won the game there. He did win the game. I think it was on Mothership, but yeah, it was Shin and Björn.
But yeah, Björn likes to banter. Especially lately, I've noticed that Björn has been bantering even more than usual. Or maybe not more than usual, but he started bantering in English as well. And yeah, it's.
Oh yeah, sorry, that's it. It was Björn and Shin in the Tunica finals. That where Kronos was translating. Remember Kronos? Kronos he jumped on to translate.
Okay.
Yeah. It was the Tunica finals.
Yeah.
Shin versus Björn. The banter, baby, the banter. But regardless, congratulations to a Laser for claiming the win here, for taking down Skillus 3-0, and for becoming the SEL Masters champion. And I hope that the players provided a bunch of data for the PTR. Again, the purpose of this event was to test some changes in the PTR of SC Evo, and hopefully that was achieved. Hopefully. And we might see some amendments and some changes as a result of that. Up next, we had Science Skirmish number 4. It has been a while since we've seen a Science event. Has it been like a year? Number 3 was in 2024. It's been it's been over a year since the Science tournament. I completely forgot about this, by the way. So yeah, it's been a very, very long time. Congratulations to our players here. We had Yu competing. We had Nicaract, Jomek, Honmono, Werito, Mixu. For those who are unaware, Soundcraft is a custom game mod which does actually bring together a bunch of new races. It's a bunch of new races have been added to the game. You see here Genetron, Chiron, and Zaid. So 3 different races. 3 different races have been added to the game with a bunch of new units. Like this, it's pretty overwhelming.
Like it's an entire new thing. Like it's not like just few things are custom. No, it's an entire like different race, different races.
Yeah, an entire different. For sure. And you can also play the main races as well. Like, so basically 6 races. You have Terran, Zerg, Protoss, and then you have the 3 custom races in as well. And it's very daunting, I will say. We casted this event in 2024. I want to say we casted the skirmish number 3, if I recall correctly. Or maybe a different Soundcraft tournament. But we did cast it. And there's just a lot of new units. There's a lot of just stuff that you just have to kind of like try to catch up with. It's very unique, and I appreciate the work that's been put into it, of course, as well. But it's one of the mods that it's a little bit of a shame, because I would say a lot of work has been put into it, but it doesn't really get too much traction. There isn't as much funding when it comes to tournaments. So there's just, I mean, as we mentioned, that there hasn't been a tournament for this event in over a year. Sorry, for this mod in over a year. So there's a little bit less eyes on it, but for sure, though, like, do give a little respect to the work done in the mod, and there's definitely a dedicated community for the mod as well. And yeah, hopefully we get to see a little bit more traction and maybe some more events in the future with Sioncraft. Meanwhile, congratulations to Yu. Yu, he wins the event. He takes down Nick 2-1, takes down Jamek 3-2, and takes down Mixu 4-2 in the grand finals as well. GG. GG, well played. Congratulations to you for competing, for winning the event, and shout out to the other competitors as well. I hope they enjoyed them. I hope they enjoyed themselves. They enjoyed. Up next, we have the StarCraft 2 Entertainment Cup 2026 Season 2. If I recall correctly, I want to say Season 1 of this event was this the like the streamer invitational, basically. Let's see.
Okay.
Pretty much, yeah. This is basically like a Doyu. Sorry, I say Doyu. It's a Bilibili streamer invitational, where all these competitors were competing in Bilibili. I think Bilibili might even be like a main sponsor of the event. That's why they were all streaming on that site. It's like a competitor to Doyu, and massive prize pool for the events, and again, a little bit less serious, but more community driven, which is important, right? Like, imagine a tournament with a bunch of VTubers. That's what this is, basically. A couple of actual players or ex-players like XY.
You don't know that.
No, I do know that. I do. Because there was a promotional graphic for it for Season 1. There isn't one here for Season 2, but Season 1 had a bunch of VTubers on the promotional graphic, so... Yeah. So I'm assuming that a lot of those VTubers returned here as well. It's very similar to what we saw from Chijik with Crank as well. It's a way to kind of like branch out and show the game off and to like other Blizzard streamers, basically. Like, from my understanding, I believe a lot of these streamers are like, they mainly play like Hearthstone or Overwatch or some of these other games, and there's like basically like cross promotional events like this going on to kind of bring them all together. I think it's really good. I think it's really smart. I wish we had something like this outside of China, but I do have to give a lot of credit, of course, to NetEase, because they've been investing and devoting a lot of resources into stuff like this, into this kind of like cross-promotional play. They're making a lot of use of their IP, or of the fact that they have control over StarCraft and Overwatch and Diablo and World of Warcraft and Hearthstone and all that Blizzard, all those Blizzard IPs, and they're doing quite a lot over there in China. And it's I'm a little bit envious. Like, I wish we got some of this stuff over here as well. It'd be great. It'd be cool to see.
It's time to poke you, Simon, about it, because he was talking about how, there's this big AoE thing where like they invited a bunch of streamers from various games. Time to do a StarCraft edition.
True. Let's go. But yeah, with that, congratulations to our top performing players in this event. And again, this is more like a fun like streamer events, having a bunch of content creators jump on, compete in a custom game mod in StarCraft 2. So GG all played. With that leads us into the 2026 Season 2 Major Tournament. What?
This is the amateur league. Weekly?
It is the amateur weekly.
Look, it doesn't have any other name on the challenge. That's what the name is.
Yeah. It's supposed to be the amateur. I would say it's supposed to be the amateur league weekly like season finals, but instead it's called the Season 2 Major Tournament, which is a little bit silly, but it's fine. Now, is this the seasonal event? I would imagine, not the end of year event. Yeah. So seasonal event. Yeah. What does this mean? This means that, of course, the top 8 players from the season get invited into a single elimination bracket, where there is a prize money associated with it as well. So there's a prize pool. So that is why there's a bronze match as well. So great to see. Great to see. As we do have Saito. Saito takes on Drivi 2-1 to advance on to the semifinals. We had Mineral Muncher taking down Saito 3-2. Went all the way to the ace match. Does face off against Jackals in the grand finals on a best of 7 finals as well. Mineral Muncher takes down Jackals 4-0 to become the bronze to platinum champion. GG, well played.
It's going to be what Mineral Muncher is. He's a mineral
Yeah.
muncher. He's like a drone.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know,
He's like a drone, yeah. He's
clothes,
munching
just-
minerals.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's very cute.
Cheeky man.
Beautiful.
It is cute.
So congratulations here to Mineral Muncher. Up next, we did have the Veteran Edition. This is Diamond 3 to Diamond 2. Here we had Pretty Fly. Pretty Fly takes down Lucid Shadow 2-0, takes down Eru Learns 3-1, and then takes down Clefidus 4-0 in the grand finals. I'll be honest, there are a couple of players here that I've never seen before. I don't know if they like ID changed or name changed coming into the event, but congratulations here to Pretty Fly nonetheless for the 4-0 win. That leads us into the Prestige Edition, Diamond 1 to Masters 2. Here we had Mathrix, we had Zigger, we had Steez, Beast, Milka, Herodiot, Borealis, Defiance, all regulars, all well-known players. Here we get Beast. Beast takes down Milka 2-0, takes down Steez 3-2, and takes down Mathrix 4-1 to become this season's champion. GG. GG, well played here to Beast. And that leads us into our Elite Edition M1 to GM. Here we had 4 players. We had Meowridoom, Exiled, Nickrank, and Hatsu. In the Nickrank, takes down Hatsu 3-0, takes down Meowridoom 4-0 in the grand finals to become our season champion. GG. GG, well played. Nickrank does become our champion here to close out the season of Amateur League Weeklies. GG. GG, well played. Up next, we did have the SDO, our amateur tournament for bronze to diamond, up to 4.2 KMR for Ducklings Open. This was the PTR edition, hosted on the PTR and showcasing some new fun changes. Kuri, did you notice anything about said events covering the PTR for the first time?
About PTR itself, no. But I will say this was the most aggressive I've ever seen Pretty Fly be. And by aggressive, I don't mean like cheese necessarily, but like at any point of the game, he always had at least one proxy pylon somewhere where he was constantly warping units. Like all the time. The whole game. Often in the main base of his opponent.
I mean, that does go into the
everywhere.
PTR. Yeah, that does go into the PTR. That is an aspect of Protoss that is different in the PTR for those who are unaware. So the PTR changes. In the PTR, warp gate is very different, and speed warp-ins are even faster than before, and no longer require gateways. So because of that, proxy pylons are much more threatening on the map. They're much harder to scout. They're much more powerful as well, and they're faster than previously. So a lone pylon out there can allow for some massive warp-ins and a lot more aggressive potential coming into the mid game, and it sounds like Pretty Fly was embracing that quite heavily in his own matches. In the end, Falling Ninja takes down Pretty Fly 2-1, takes down Libre 2-0, and takes down Pretty Fly 3-1 in the grand finals. Congratulations to Falling Ninja. GG. GG, well played. That takes us into the Chat Star League number 48, regular edition. Here, once again, this is an amateur event. I believe this is 5.2k MMR? Just double checking here. 5.3. Okay, 5.3k MMR and below. Interesting. As this is for the lower end here of GM. As a result of that, we actually have some notable players here, but they off-race. So, for example, Mixu plays Terran. He's a main race Zerg player, but he is off-racing as Terran here. And I want to say that typically there are some other off-racing players as well. But here we have Mixu who takes down Universe 2-0, takes down Naji 3-1. And unfortunately, we get a walkover win in the finals. Jay took down Patches, Jay took down Hacker's Top, but Jay does forfeit in the finals for Mixu. Hopefully everything's okay. I would imagine that he would have played out those matches, but something did come up. So a little bit unfortunate there, but regardless, congratulations to Mixu for winning the event in the finals. GG. GG well played with his Terran, of all things. Up next, we had the Malalekos Replay League, Season 15, League 6. Okay.
So
is this like Division 6?
Yeah, the league is a division because there are like 10 divisions or something. And they are all like played at the different times. The most of them are midway through right now.
Okay. So Season 15, League 6. So Malalekos, I was going to say he has been hosting a bunch of events for a while, but that's not true. Malalekos, he went MIA for a long time. Like, Malalekos, he was a very active caster, and he was casting as much as he could, like, a couple of years ago. And then there was, like, a big break. Obviously, recently, he did collaborate with a bunch of other German casters when it comes to SE2 DE, right? Or is it DE SE2? the Twitch channel,
Yeah.
which is like Madalekos with like 2 or 3 other German casters where they kind of rotate and host events. But Madalekos, he did take a big break,
Yeah,
so
I
I'm
just
happy
want
to
to
see
say
him being active once again.
he's not very active like general scene, but I want to say I may be wrong, but I feel like the specifically the replay league has been going on even then. Maybe there was like some kind of hiatus, but I feel like the replay league has been fairly consistent. It's just that he's not taking part in like other events.
Yeah. I would imagine that Madalekos just hasn't had as much time to do so, and he's been focusing on other aspects of his life, of course. But really cool to see him still, taking part in StarCraft in some way, shape, or form, whether it's the Replay League or whether it's the SE2DE like channel, or whether it's just his team. If you remember, like Madalekos, I think he does have like an amateur team as well, and they were competing in an amateur league. If you recall, like there was an invitational like amateur event with like a bunch of teams, and Madalekos, he did have some players there. Remember, it was like Drone Hard, and like and some of the other German players. It was like Madalekos' team alongside like Insane Master Killers and some of these other amateur teams. I think we covered it like 2 months ago. But regardless, the replay invitational, the replay event did conclude. Here we had Drell, we had Sergey, and a bunch of Chris 2. I know Chris 2. Dabadanjin and Terrence Skill. It was a round robin group stage. And in the end, Owen does claim the win of 5-0. I don't really know how the divisions are split up, like whether it's MMR or performance based or something else of that nature. But regardless, congratulations here to Owen for claiming the win. GG, well played. Up next, that leads us into the Little Mac League, the Little Mac StarCraft 2 League Season 15. This is for players that are Diamond 1 and below. Okay, so D1 and below here. We got some people we recognize. Why is Cosmos here? Cosmos is not Diamond. He's Masters. The hell? I mean, maybe he just hasn't played in a while and there's like MMR decay, but like Cosmos, he's actually pretty good. He's like 4.5.
Look,
right?
He has a baby, okay? Like he doesn't have the time.
True. A time to ladder. I'm just double checking. Yeah, Cosmos, he's 4.4. He's better than me, I would say. Damn. Like he's up there, definitely. So is that copy pasted wrong? Maybe. Hold on. Because it says here Diamond 1 and below. I can't believe that though. Not if Cosmos is playing. Not if Chocolate is not Diamond. Chocolate's also like MSO level. Beast. Yeah. I think that there's. I think the text is wrong because Beast is here and Beast is also like 4.7. Yeah, 4.6. Yeah. So was Hadoku. Yeah. So was Fletch. I was distracted by Cosmos, but suddenly I look at all the other players here, and all these other players are like Masters 2 level. So yeah, I think I want to say that when this page was made, it was just copy pasted, but it is not correct in the text. Because if you look at Little Mac Season 14, it says MMR 4.5 and below. That I can believe. Here it says Diamond 1 and below. That's incorrect. So yeah, it looks like the text on Wikipedia is wrong. This is not D1 and below. This is 4.5 and below. So it's someone copy pasted somewhere something, and it's not correct. When it comes to the group stage itself, we have Steez as well. Yeah, we got plenty of Masters players here. We got Steez versus Exiled, Hadoku, and Nux. We got Sugarcoat with Neo, with Ibidi, and Papito as well. He's also Masters. Wise Man is also Masters. Yeah, all these guys are Masters. We got Wise Man, Captain Britain. Good to see him still around. Storm and Defiance. We have Countess, Sickest, Firecool, and Fletch. We have Havertz, Zigger, Boreal, Medic Jr., Cosmos, Mag, Roselia, Xenodactyl, Chocolate, Milka, Mantega, Mac, Beast, Dizdorf, Set, and Anticore. That is a group of death, by the way. That's crazy. Beast, Dizdorf, Set, and Anticore? That's insane. Oh my god. Also, Anticore, he is above 4.5. What? Is he off racing? Yes. Okay. That makes sense. So Anycore is off racing. His Zerg is like 5.5, but his Protoss is much lower. So it looks like he's off racing as Protoss to compete in the tournament. Looks like they do allow off racing. So, yeah, it's going to be an interesting event here. A lot of high caliber players for sure. There are certain standouts like Steez, Beast, and I don't know how to place Anticore's Protoss. I don't know how good it is, but I would have to give him the edge for sure. Havertz for sure, another big kind of favorite. Fletch is another big one. Who else am I looking at here? There's Papito. I know he's been doing well as of late. Ibiri as well. Like, there's definitely some stand-up players here. Haroku, Exiled, also a really strong Canadian player. So yeah, it's gonna be a pretty intense group. Pretty intense groups. Pretty intense tournaments. Best of luck to all the players involved. Likewise, yeah, shout out to Little Mac for hosting the event as well. It does often take a full year to take place, but hopefully we can speed through this a little bit faster. We can. Infamously, Little Mac leagues can take a while to regress. Infamously. Best of luck. Best of luck. Up next, we have the Little Mac Master League Season 12. This is for 5.2k MR and below. So this is for low GM. And we should be seeing some similar players here. Yep, there's Anticore as Zerg, not Protoss this time. And a bunch of semi-pro players are here as well. Oh, okay. We got Inexorable. We have Kneehead, Dizzy Dwarf, Defiance, Kamikaze, Green Earth, Fireclaw, Havertz, Meowridoom, Azura, Exiled, Papito, Anticore, Cocotte, Danielo, Raza, Cobblestone, Moston, Acheron, Deadly Kitten, Magnath, Defi, Monster Universe, Sig, Naji, Gref, Doomrat, Angry, Ryojin, Slip, and Kaiboy. Very quickly here, as I mentioned in the previous Wikipedia page, it looks like the text was wrong. I have to imagine the text is wrong here as well. This is 5.2k and below. A lot of these players are more than 5.2k. I'll be honest. Kamikaze, he's like 5.4, right? Let's see. Yep, Kamikaze. Off the dome, Bobby. Kamikaze. Yep, he's 5.4. Literally just checked. Inexorable. I want to say he's also like 5.6. 5.5. We have. Let's see here. I'm pretty sure Anticore. He's like 5.6, right? Anticore. He's at 5.3. What else do we have? Looking at some of these other guys. Ryojin must be like 5.4, right? Yeah, he peaked 5.5 as well. What I have to imagine, looking at this, is that maybe they're weighting MMR differently based on region. Because a bunch of these like Latin American players are like 5.4, 5.5. But they might be weighing NA MMR differently to European MMR, which allows them to compete, which means that the Europeans can, which would make sense actually. It would make more sense. But yeah, like a lot of these Latin American players, they are like 5.4, 5.5 ish level. So it doesn't make sense for them. But the Europeans are like 5.2. So I would imagine they're just weighing it differently. That'd make the most sense in my mind. Otherwise, it makes no sense. I'm looking at the players here and I'm like, nah, this is like, what are we doing here? This is not 5.2. So yeah, interesting. Regardless, when it comes to the event itself, I do wish the best to all the players here. When it comes to the stand-up players in this tournament, who do we look at? I look at Anticore. I look at Inexorable. I look at Sig. What level is Sig at? Let's see. Sig, he's currently 5.2. Yeah. So I think the Europeans here are 5.2, and the Americas players are like 5.4, 5.5. But over on Americas instead. I'm looking at Azura. We expect Azura to do well here. Azura, Anticore, Sig, Graf. He can pop off just cannon rushing everyone. He can but also have high hopes for like Inexorable, for Ryojin, for some of the other Latin American boys as well. So best of luck. Best of luck in the tournament. Maybe stop being so nice and just call it Section Smurf Hunter. I mean, there's no smurfing happening here. Like these players are very like the numbers that I'm stating here. It's very like public.
It's like public information. Again, they're not trying to hide anything. Like
the
organizer allowed them to compete.
Yeah. Like this is very, very public here. So that's why I'm saying that I would imagine that for this event, they're just weighing America's MMR different from European MMR. And for the other events, again, like it looks like they just wrote the wrong thing on Wikipedia because it's not D1 and below. It should be like 4.5 and below. So just some mistakes on Wikipedia, and some clarification to be involved here as well. Otherwise, up next we do have the World University Team League Division 3. Oh, okay. Do we have any progress here? The group stage.
So here's the thing. The group stage has concluded and we have scores of the group stage, but no details. So there's a thing.
Lovely. Who do we rate recently? We rated Foxer recently, and he was playing in this team league as well, in the University Team League. I think he was talking about some of his matches, but yeah, we have almost no information about it. So, so that best of luck to all the players, and hopefully we get some details of some of these matches at some point. Hopefully. But it's a fun event. A bunch of players that are in your university going to be representing their universities and competing, of course, as well.
Also, I want to say that last time we got a clarification that not all team members have to be from the same university. I think at least one person has to represent the university or a select number, and then the rest can be like mercenaries.
Yep, exactly. And you can see that aligned with the team captain, right? The team captain is the players from that university, and then they have their quote-unquote mercenary alongside them. So best of luck. That leads us, then with the way we had some results coming in from Division 1, from Division 2 as well, and again, hopefully we can get some more results later on down the line, once we get into the playoffs especially. Up next, we have the StarCraft 2 Community Team League 2026 Spring regular season. We are nearing the end. We're nearing the end of the season here. We have round 11. Round 11 did conclude. Here we had Leor. Leor took down Fairy Thug 4-3. We had Elpis taking down Elpis 3, 6-0 to be expected when it comes to the main team up against the Academy team. We had PCEC up against Team Little Fairy, 5-1. Big win here for PCEC. Very impressive. As we had, I want to say that's Millennium Fox, I want to say that's Nanyo, I want to say that's Sarah Kerrigan, up against UD Soldier, Ear, and that's a Zerg player that I do not know. Dyys? I don't know this guy. Alternate IDs. Translate. What is this name? Drinking alone under the moonlight.
Very poetic.
What ID is this? Alone Goose's message. Okay. I don't know what that means. Shout out to DYYS, the lone goose himself. Did rep Little Fairy, but again, in the end, PCEC do claim the win. Big win for PCEC. Meanwhile, we had Starlight Twinkle. They take down Team Hist 4-2. Then had Rookie Warpgate. They take down Team Protoss the Best 6-0. We had Old Man taking down Astartes 6-0 as well. Big win for Team Old Man. We had Tower Project taking down Super Puppy 5-1, and Super Kitty takes down Kauda 6-0. So some strong showings here. I would say there wasn't any two kind of big profile matches outside of PCEC versus Little Fairy. That was the series I was looking forward to. And a strong showing by PCEC. That leads us into round 12. That'll be tomorrow. We have Old Man versus Super Puppy, Toad Project versus Kauda, Super Kitty versus Elpis 3, Rookie Warpgate versus Astartes, Starlight Twinkle versus Protoss the Best, Little Fairy versus Hist, Leo versus PCEC, and Elpis versus Fairy Thug as well. Also, fun fact, if you scroll up when it comes to the standings, we actually have some confirmed players in that will make it to the playoffs regardless of their current scores moving forward. Elpis, they have a perfect record, 11 wins and 0 losses. Super Kitty just below them with 10 wins and 1 loss. They are confirmed into the playoffs. Meanwhile, Fairy Thug, Leor, and Protoss the Best are confirmed out.
Like Fairy Thug, not Fairy Thug. How could they? Why did last place?
No.
I mean, at least it's not Super Puppy, but Fairy Thug.
They just can't get out of that thug life, They're built for the streets life. And yes. not for the round robin group stage. No, not like this. So we have some players. Some teams confirmed out.
We're still waiting for that fan art of a buff fairy, by the way.
Oh yeah, 100%. We need that. But with that, again, we still have a couple of weeks remaining here when it comes to the group stage into the playoffs, so do look forward to that. Up next, we do have the GSC Global StarCraft Cup 2026 playoffs taking place. Oh my god, it's quite a mouthful. un momento here when it comes to our regional events. Here we had our. Hey, speaking of, is this what I was? Yes. Fun fact: I was just talking about this event. If you recall, like when we were discussing my Lakers, I was like, yeah, there was an event that was like a bunch of teams like collaborating together to host an event with their players. This is it. As you can see, organizer, we had Insane Master Killers and Madalekos Esports. So this is the exact event that we were discussing earlier, where we had all these teams field their players to compete, and in the end we had our playoff tournaments. If you recall, I was leaning more towards Mini Zerg UA and Winkle. Winkle was one of the top German players that's been looking really good here as of late, and it looks like we have a little bit of an error on the Wikipedia page. We can maybe fix that later, where Winkle is on top and Zagreus is on the bottom when they came from the opposite sides. So
don't worry about
it's fine.
It's fine.
It's,
This is fine.
it's fine. Don't worry. It's fine. But we did have an all-German finals here. Zagreus versus Winkle. I believe they're both on Madalekos Esports. I'm just going to double check here. And yes, they're both on Madalekos Esports. They're both top players from Germany. We have seen them perform well in other German-only tournaments, by the way. So we had some high hopes. And to see Zagreus take down Kamikaze and Minizerg UA, big win. Big win there for Zagreus as he takes down Winkle 4-0 to win the entire tournament. Congratulations to Zagreus for winning the Global StarCraft Cup 2026. Strong showing here. Again, like these German players, Zagreus, Winkle, Alith as well. I mean, it helps that there have been a lot of German tournaments as of late to compete in, but they have been doing quite well in these amateur events, like these semi-pro tournaments. Damn, they're looking good. Joanhard is the other one. Yeah, Joanhard, who didn't make it through the group stage, but like he's also a player that we've been seeing pop up more and more as well. All the Madalekos boys. True. So he's looking after them. And again, that they do look to be improving, doing well, and I hope to see more of them in the future in some open cups as well. Up next, we have Amantes. Amantes is StarCraft number 47. This is a monthly Brazilian-only tournament. Bearing in mind that this is a multi-day event, and we are halfway through the event itself. Master takes down Glibo 2-0. We had Tour take down Yanji 2-0. That's a big upset. Who is this guy? Tour. Oh my god. Takes down Yan 2-0 up against Master in the upper bracket finals. Meanwhile, we have Mantega versus Papito in the lower bracket semis. Papito takes down Yan. Ooh, so Yan does look maybe a little bit out of practice here. Usually he's a player that I rate very highly, but I also know that he has not been competing as of late. He is not an active player nowadays. He is not in form, so he is struggling in this month's Amantes. We have our top four players, Master, Tour, Mantega, and Papito. Well, Master is a clear favorite. Usually, who does threaten Master? Kamikaze, Inexorable, and Eric. Those are the three players that can stop Master. Outside of them, you know, maybe like Shakti can cause an upset, but none of those players that I just mentioned are here, so I don't see anyone stopping Master. Second place, though, is up in the air. Like, I don't know how to rank Tour. I have never seen him play, so he's a surprise making it to the finals, or to the upper bracket finals. I know that Papito has been practicing a lot. He's been improving a lot over time. So I want to see Papito do well, and Mantega has been around for a little bit longer. He's more of like a regular in these events, and he has that veteran status. So we'll see. Best of luck to all the other competitors to see who can threaten Master in the grand finals. Best of luck. Up next, we have the Legacy Weekly Japan, number 504. This is a weekly open tournament for the Japanese region, and I was here for some Tapioca action, but he's not here today. This week, there is no Boba. Instead, we have Deadly Kid, he takes down Antaro Example 2-0, takes down Nisezo 2-0, and takes down Akira 2-0 in the grand finals. GG, well played. Hold on. I misspoke. I said there was no Tapioca. This might be a first. Kuro, have you ever seen Tapioca not win? Or even make it to the finals? Akira 2-1 Tapioca. So I just looked at the finals, so I just assumed that Tapioca didn't show. Tapioca 2-0'd Psyarch, and he got knocked down the semis by Akira. Damn. Look at that. I don't think I've ever seen Tapioca knock down the semifinals before.
I think we did, but sure.
I don't. It's never happened. It's never happened in the history of StarCraft. Tapioca has always been on top. So to see Tapioca go down the semis, that is crazy. That's insane. That's huge. Este Akira. We have a shift in the hierarchy of Japan. Oh my god, Akira having the comeback. Ay. I just want to double check here. I don't think we can. I cannot confirm just because I don't think the player overview will tell us much. No, yeah, here. So tournaments won 26, second place 3 times, third place twice. So we have seen Tapioca get knocked down in the semifinals one other time. literally one
No,
other
yeah,
time it has
yeah.
happened in the history of Tapioca. So literally one other time is the only other time that he got knocked down in the semifinals. That is crazy. So now twice it's happened. It's crazy. GG well played. A big win there for Akira. I'm sure the Deadly Kitten is very happy to see that as well, as he does claim the win 2-0 over Akira to be this week's Legacy League Japan champion. GG well played. The Netgo does it again. The Super Kitty. I think he would fit well.
Yeah, I was gonna say they should pick him up. Just for the meme, they should pick him up.
Yeah, 100%. God damn. GG, well played. Congratulations here to Deadly Kitten for claiming the win. That leads us into this week's OSC tournaments for the week. First is the OSC Rising Star number 19. This is a seasonal event, and we are nearing the end of said tournament. Fun fact, we're actually going to be hosting the final day of this event tomorrow. Oh boy. Up first, we had Shameless. Shameless takes down G Machine 3-1 to advance on to the grand finals. Meanwhile, we had Art take down Rebellion 2-0. We had Fiant take down Homono 2-1. Fiant takes down UD Soldier 2-1. And we have our top players here. It's going to be Art versus Art. That's going to be all for the cast. Oh, no.
I love it. I love it every time.
The battle of the arts, Pappy. The battle of the arts. Modern versus traditional.
See, but now it's not as bad as it used to be because they're no longer on the same team.
True. It used to be Platinum Heroes Art versus Platinum Heroes Art. You're not wrong. Regardless, we have Art versus Art. That leads into Fiant. That leads into Giga Machine. That leads into Shameless. 4 series left here in tomorrow's broadcast to crown our champion. In my mind, it will be Shameless versus Giga Machine, but we have seen Art cause upsets, so Art could beat Art, or Art could also beat Art as well. We'll see which Art does advance on. Likewise, Fiant will be standing in their way. G Machine's still a favorite player for the rematch, but we'll see if we can get that rematch, and we'll see if we can get a back-to-back win. Bearing in mind that for the 18th season, for the OSC Elite season 18, it was Shameless versus G Machine. Shameless did win 3-2 over G Machine, so we'll see if Shameless can get a back-to-back win, or if G Machine can get his revenge. If he even has a chance to get his revenge as well, we'll see. So best of luck to all the rising talents over in the OC Elite. Meanwhile, we have the mid-season playoffs, number 1 for 2026. This has been ongoing, has been progressing. We actually were able to see Björn. Björn took down Shameless to advance on to the upper bracket semis. Meanwhile, we have some progression here in the lower bracket as well. Art takes down Lilix. Harstem takes down Fiant. We have a PvP between Art and Harstem. We have Chami takes down Jumi 3-0. That was a meme and a half, by the way. I don't... It always is with Jumi. There was a lot of banter between Jumi and Cham in their series. If you missed it, I do recommend the VOD. We did cast this, by the way. We did cast the most recent week. A lot of banter, a lot of nonsense. Este Jumi, Este Cham. Shaking my head. Meanwhile, we have Yangako versus G Machine. That's going to be a spicy ZVZ. We have Lambo versus Arrowfire into Goblin into Shameless. We have Christiana versus Art. We have Nightmare versus Diva. And we have that lower brackets progressing. It is slowly progressing. We have been casting it as of late. Next week, I don't think we have actually room to cover it next week. I did let Eddie know. So if we don't cover it, then, Dave, Testa, Steadfast, Wardy, some of the other community casters do typically cover the event whenever we are unavailable to do so. So best of luck to all the competitors in the tournaments. Meanwhile, that leads us into this week's OSC King of the Hill, number 252. For this event, I believe Björn came in as the reigning King of the Hill, if I recall correctly. Yep, he was the reigning King of the Hill from the previous week. So he is the starting player, and he does go on a massive win streak. Takes on Moja 1-0, Nightmare 1-0, Shameless 1-0, Fiant, Art, Christiana, Ledlix, Honmono, before eventually falling to MaxPax. 8 wins in a row. And MaxPax, his win is short-lived because MaxPax takes down Beyond, and then bam! Shameless. He is shameless. He takes down the Pax that is Max. Again, Max. He's a good player, but in a best of one, especially in a PvP, Shameless comes out on top. He goes for his own win streak, takes down Max, takes down Cristiano, takes down Arok Fire, popping off in the PvPs before falling to Percival, and then that is short-lived. Nickrak, the TVT sniper, takes down Percival 1-0, and then takes down Fiant, and in the end, congratulations to Nickrak for becoming this week's King of the Hill. GG. GG. No. Let's go. Just catching up. Seeing there's a new Little Mac League. We did talk about Little Mac, unless there's something that we did not discuss.
We did talk about Little Mac, but there is also a Diamond League event, which is... I don't think there is a prize pool for it, so that's why it's not on the pages.
Hold on. Is
Yes?
this the reason? Is this from Little Mac? Or no?
No. DLC
Okay,
is not
different
from
event. Yeah, a different event. Okay. Fair enough. But congratulations to Nickrak for claiming the win over Fiat and for becoming this week's King of the Hill. Again, some big results, by the way, when it comes to Shameless taking down Max, like that is huge, I would say. And likewise, Nickrak taking down Percival. Like those are some of the big like highlights for the event. And I do recommend the VODs over on Empress Lily's channel whenever possible to see those matches unfold. Shout out to Beyond for having the biggest win streak, of course. He did walk away with the most amount of prize money, but Nickrak will be invited on to be the starting player next week. Here we go. Just trying to catch up. Did you want to go over that diamond tournament now, I guess?
No, I guess we can do it next week. It's fine.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, because it's still ongoing, so I guess we can catch up with it next week. So good. But thanks for letting us know.
But on that note, since I see like more videos being posted, if you want us to cover an event, post it in the Discord because I prepared the list of topics ahead of time. Usually I have it. I try to have it finished by the night before the next podcast. So post it in the Discord and then we can go over it during the podcast because I said like I don't want to like mix and match the topics as we're going through. So I'd rather have the list like before the stream, unless there's like some big news happening during the stream. But yes, post it in Discord. If it's like spoilers, you can post it in tournament spoilers. You can post it in general chat. I was considering making a specific channel, but I feel like that would be too much. So just CranKy Ducklings Discord.
There you go. As we get into this week's Open Cups, up first we have the Sparkling Tunicum number 135 PTR edition. We were actually just talking about this event as earlier someone brought up some banter that was going on, and yes, there was a lot of banter in this tournament between Björn and Shin, as Björn took down Dave Littles 2-0, took down Hino 2-0 to advance on to the finals. Shin, he had some fun playing random. He took down Hackerstop and Hot Mono as we random the hell up in the entirety of that tournament run into the grand finals. It was a fun back and forth. As I mentioned, Björn had a lot of banter with Shin as well, as they were chatting a lot throughout the entirety of the series. Shout out to Kronos, as Kronos actually jumped on to be an impromptu translator. Kronos is a fellow CranKy Duckling and did help out with that. We were talking about the game on Tourmaline, that's it, where Björn was having a little banter, and then Shin did actually fight back and did put a point on the board. Eventually, Björn did claim the win, but shout out to Shin for competing and for making a series out of it. GG well played. Congratulations to Björn for claiming the tournament win. GG well played. Once again, this was played out on the PTR, and I would say that when it comes to the PTR, typically we try to follow Protoss players just because there's so much changed when it comes to Protoss, when it comes to their production and when it comes to the economy as well. But there wasn't really much Protoss representation this week, so mainly fixated on those TVZs between Björn and Hino, Björn and Shin, and even Shin and Honmono. Their first game was also ZVT, and yeah, we got to see that kind of like transpire, take place. As we have spoken about when it comes to previous PTR events, getting up to Ghost Tech is still insane in regards to TVZ. We saw Solar struggle against that sort of style, and we saw Shin try to end the game earlier here to try to stop Björn from getting to set at Ghost Tech, just because there's less counterplay in the PTR. Without Snipes being denied, Snipes, they pop off and they shut down Hive Tech Zerg quite hard. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. And we have been experiencing that when it comes to a lot of these Open Cups. We'll see how some of these other Open Cups did kind of unfold, though. Up next, we have the Wardy TV Monday, number 91. This was not on the PTR, by the way. Wardy does host his events on the base game instead. So here we had Hero. I see a lot of Protoss. We had Hero takes down Hearthstone 2-0, takes down Classic 2-0. Big win there for Hero. Maybe alluding to what's going to be happening later on in the Water TV Championship. Meanwhile, Clem takes down Percival PvP. Clem versus Percival in a PvP. Clem takes down Percival 2-1. Clem takes down Max Max 2-0. And then we have Clem versus Hero in the Grand Finals. Clem does take down Hero 3-1. GG well played. A big win there for Clem as he does claim the win. Up next, we have the Monday Night Weekly, number 56. That was later on that evening. This was not on the PTR. No, this was. Hey, there you go. This was on the PTR as well. So again, I would say the majority of the online tournaments are on the PTR, referring to our tournaments, Monday Night Weeklies, and Pegasus Cups as well. Here we saw Clem. Clem, he takes down Young Yakov 2-1, takes down Cure 2-1. Big win there for Clem. Does eventually fall to Björn. Björn does knock him down. Björn, he also 2-0'd Hero as well. Huge win there for Björn. Takes down Hero, takes down Clem to advance on the grand finals. Hero takes down Cure 1-0. Then we have Clem taking down Hero, and then Clem plays random in the finals. Ooh, which means, actually, for this tournament, we saw Clem play TVT for the first time in over a year. It's been over a year. That is crazy. But Clem did play TVT against Beyond. He actually won one of the games, then lost the other, and then he lost his Protoss as well. But I know that Clem has, a lot of players have been expressing their issues with the current PTR, and I'm pretty sure that's why Clem did choose to play random. Unfortunately, we were unable to see Clem Zerg in that tournament, unfortunately, but regardless, congratulations to Beyond. Congratulations. GG well played. That leads us into Biggest Cup. Biggest Cup number 86, also on the PTR. Bear that in mind. Here we had Björn. Björn takes down Nickrak 2-0, takes down Solar 3-0. Strong result there by Björn in the semifinals. Again, we've been seeing some strong Terran results in the PTR. We saw Björn win early. Björn's winning everything. True. Hold on. You can see the shift when it comes to like PTR balance and what's happening on the PTR. As usually it's just Protoss champions abound, but no, Björn, Terran champions instead, winning the Tuna Cup, winning Monday Night Weekly, and winning the Pegasus Cup as well. Winning all three PTR tournaments. Björn. He 3-0 Solar. Percival takes down Clem 3-1, and then Björn takes down Percival 3-0. GG well played. Björn cleaning house in those PTR events. Up next, we had Kung Fu Cup. Kung Fu Cup number 12 was this week. Here we had, I believe this was on the live version of the game, not the PTR. Here we had Classic. Classic, he 2-0 Showtime, he 2-0's Percival, he 2-0's Hero. Classic getting his revenge. Hero 2-0 Classic earlier in the Water TV Monday, but here Classic 2-0's Hero in the Kung Fu Cup. Likewise, on the other side, we have Clem, and Clem, he takes down Shin 2-1, takes down Zaun 2-0. Great to see Zaun. Zaun, he's very inactive when it comes to these tournaments, so great to see Zaun competing here this week. He did take down Beyond earlier, then Clem takes down Zaun, and then Clem takes down Classic 3-1. GG well played. Congratulations to Clem. As that wraps up this week's Open Cups, and if I'm not mistaken, Kuro, I believe we have purely Terran champions this week, because Beyond won all the PTR tournaments and Clem won all the live game tournaments. So is this a first? Because we've had plenty of weeks where it's pure Protoss champions, like plenty of weeks throughout the past couple of years. Like, that is pretty normal. That's pretty standard to see pure Protoss. I don't think we've ever had a week where it's pure Terran champions. I don't think that's ever happened.
I can't wait for the Reddit comments.
True.
This can only go well.
No, but unironically, I think this is the first in the history of Open Cups. Like when I say history of Open Cups, I mean like since like the EPT era, like the ESL Open Cups. I don't think we've had a pure because during the EPT era it was Hero and Dark. They were trading a lot. It was Hero, Dark, and Clem and Max. Like they were winning everything, and often they would like interchange amongst each other, and there'd be like a back and forth there. In recent years, the past like 2 years, it's like Classic and Hero. It's like Classic, Hero, and Max. They like win everything, and then Clem can like pop up every now and then as well. But as I mentioned, like it's very common to see like pure Protoss champions, with like a couple of Terran and Zerg mixed in. But this is maybe the first week in years, if not the first week in history, where all the Open Cup champions are Terran. That's insane. Like we need like Fear Dragon. We need someone to like actually look into it and look at like the numbers and look at the results and to see if this has ever happened before. Like that's crazy. It might actually be a first. I don't know. So GG well played. Congratulations here to Clem and Björn for winning everything this week. Congratulations, and we'll see you guys for next week's Open Cups. I think we mentioned earlier that the qualifiers for RSL are on the horizon. ! Sign up list in the chat if you guys want to sign up and play in some of these tournaments yourself.
Yes, I will say the RSL qualifiers are not quite on the list yet, but they will be soon. Soon TM.
I see Legoland in the chat. It was pure Clem for about a year last year. That is not true. As I was emphasizing, last year especially, like you get Hero winning, you get Max Fax winning, Clem would win as well, but you never get a week where Clem won everything. Like that hasn't happened. So I will push back against that.
I was gonna say who won like all 3 weeklies when there was like EPT. I think Hero might have won like all 3.
I think I did Hero or Dark. Yeah. I remember.
Didn't Hero Marine win a lot of them? But like he didn't win like all pre-savers though.
He didn't win all 3. No.
Yeah.
He never won all 3. Yeah. For sure. But again, sign up list in the chat. So if you want to check out the sign up list, we do have MSO. That's going to be tomorrow. That's going to be our 4.7k MR event. And below, we have What Is to Be Mondays. We have Tuna Cups as well. We have Monday Night Weeklies, Kung Fu Cups, plenty of tournaments throughout the course of the next couple of weeks. So you can check out the sign up list if you do wish to delve into that. If you want to take part and compete yourself. Likewise, if you want to support us, you can do so via Patreon. Patreon in the chat. So you can check out our Patreon page to help support us if you wish. The Patreon does fund our tournaments on a regular basis. It does fund our open tournaments and our amateur events as well, all funded via the Patreon. So you can help us grow the Tuna Cup and grow our amateur events via the Patreon on a regular basis. You can help us out there if you wish. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks so much for the support. We do appreciate it. Our next broadcast should be tomorrow morning with the final day of the OSC Elite Rising Star Tournament, and tomorrow evening in less than 24 hours with the MSO, with the Master Swan Open. Also remember, this weekend, big weekend, GSL-CK. GSL-CK is going to be over the weekend, so do look forward to that. As that is going to be, as we're going to be the main the main casters, as we're going to be covering the event in English over on our channel over on Soup. So do check it out. Otherwise, thanks for watching. Thanks so much for the support. Thanks so much to Kura for handling the production side of things, and we'll see you guys tomorrow for OSC Elite or for MSO. See you then.